Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out JasmyCoin's price chart, and I'm going to tell you why this move up right in here is definitely an optimistic sign, but at the same time there are some very key structures that we have to see. Again, very important point, we have to see in the short term in order for us to remain quite optimistic. So are you ready? Let's dive in and see what is going on. And first things first, if you remember the last time that we talked about Jasmy, I think we were right in here, and the idea was that if you do not care about Elliott waves, then okay, just have your eyes on this head and shoulder structure and see, are we going to get a break of the neckline or not? And I said, in terms of the targets, you need to measure the height of your pattern from here to about the lows and put this thing at your breaking point. So did we get there? Yep, absolutely, we touched our target. Now, in terms of classic patterns, I think we should now basically ignore this head and shoulder because, well, it actually did the job. And what really matters now is, in my view, what is going on in terms of Elliott waves, and also at the same time classic technical analysis, meaning support and resistances. And first, let's actually talk a little bit about what is going on in terms of classic TA, because sure, we did get a move up, and this can be interpreted as a bullish sign. However, again, as you can see, if I just stretch this one a bit more, we still unfortunately failed to reclaim this level successfully. And by reclaiming it, I mean we go above it, do a pullback, and then get a continuation of the move up. As long as I'm not seeing that in terms of just classic technical analysis, I think we need to probably be a bit careful. So there is that. Now, what is going on in terms of Elliott waves? You see, I think the last time that we talked about Jasmy, we were specifically right in here, and the idea was that maybe even we are going to get a move down, but under any kind of circumstances, basically we should not go and take this important slow down here about 1.3 cents, because that is probably going to invalidate any kind of bullish cases that we are allowed to consider in this whole area starting from the lows, meaning odds are we are going to see in JasmyCoin some more downward price action. And we said, as long as we are not seeing that move down, let's be a bit optimistic. And we specifically talked about the possibility of having a series of 1-2s. We said this is 1, this is 2, and then good move up into wave 3, 4, 5, which on a higher degree is going to be into this wave 3 and 4 and 5. And once more the same is happening. This yellow 5 wave up is going to be into this wave 3, correction for 4, and another move on the upside into wave 5. Now, we did get a move up in here, and you might say, well, okay, this scenario is happening, correct? Well, I'm not really sure. I think we definitely need to adjust some waves in here. Why? Okay, you see, sure, as long as we are going to hit our final low in the short term right in here and get a move up in order to continue this uptrend, maybe I'm gonna be able to tell you, okay, this count is still happening, but the end of our wave 3 is definitely not going to be here, and instead we can say maybe we are having even yet another 1-2 structure and then good move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. Question though, do I like this scenario? Honestly, not really. Why is that? Simple reason. Let's zoom in more. Okay, as you can see, this 1 and 2 right in here is on a higher degree relative to this thing. However, in terms of size, this is bigger than this one. So this is a bit unusual, and honestly, having more than 2-3 sets of 1-2s around these areas doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I'm going to argue probably this is not happening, and that, my friends, is where we start to have some major issues. Why is that? You see, let's go around this area. Okay, if you want to be bullish on any chart and you want to argue maybe we have hit our final low right around this area, let's say this is like a very important support, then okay, you need to be able to find off of the lowest low a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. This specific structure is called an impulsive movement. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, wave 3 should not be the smallest wave, excuse me. And in terms of the sub waves, okay, You probably know what I'm about to say in case you are a regular viewer, and you might even wonder, why am I talking about this in every single update? That's because about 80% of you guys these days are new viewers, so I feel like I should explain what I'm doing in order for you to understand truly what is happening. And for wave 2 and 4 in here, yep, let's say show ABC into wave 2 and a WXY into wave 4, we can have many different patterns. Now, here is a very important point for you. For our subwaves, for wave 1 and also wave 5, we are maybe allowed to have overlapping of the waves between our wave 2 and 4 right in here. However, for the subwaves of our wave 3, having overlapping of the waves between wave 4 and 2 is actually a huge no-no in terms of Elliott waves. And why is that important? Let's go on the live chart and practice what we have learned. Okay, you see in Jasmy, because there is a chance that we are having a series of 1-2s, you are allowed to be optimistic. But pay attention to what happened recently. In this phase down right in here, now we are having overlapping of the waves between this and also this move down into our wave 2. So what does that mean? It means, unfortunately, we are not allowed anymore to argue this is the end of our wave 3 correction for another move on the upside into wave 5. Why is that? Let's change the color of this thing to maybe white and this one to, let's say, red. There we go. You see, this white 5 wave up is going to be into what, according to the scenario? Into this wave 3, which we just said it earlier, having overlapping of the waves for the subwaves of our wave 3 is a huge no-no, but in here we are having it. So this count is basically, in my view, not allowed, and we need to delete this thing right in here. And well, okay, problems in here do sort of kind of start to show up. Why? Because let's consider some other counts. You see, you can also argue maybe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up in form of an expanding leading diagonal into a wave 1, followed by a correction for wave 2, and then good move up into wave 3, 4, 5 in order to complete the subwaves for this wave 3. However, this basically has the same problem that we talked about earlier. You see, this red 1 and 2 is on a lower degree relative to this initial 1 and 2 off of the lowest low. However, size wise, it's actually quite bigger than this one. So this, I think, makes perfect sense to argue is looking quite weird. So again, maybe this shouldn't even be our primary scenario. So question, what is going to be our primary case? You see, I said it earlier. If we are going to hit the low of our correction in Jasmy right in here, and from this point we're going to get a move up, I am still sort of kind of going to be able to argue, you know what, maybe this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that 1-2 scenario that we talked about earlier, maybe it's in play. On the other hand, if from this point we get yet another move down, and pay attention, this is kind of the key point, in that move we managed to take this very important low, about, let's say, 1.4 cents. At that point, I think you might have to throw away most of the bullish cases that we are allowed to consider in this area in Jasmy and argue, you know what, probably we are dealing with some sort of a correction. And for example, you can say, assuming that you are able to find an impulse in this phase up, that we are having, excuse me, from here to about this point, an A, B, C running flat, and this is a 5 wave, this is another one. Well, these might be the sub waves for an A, B, C zigzag, meaning what? Our move down in JasmyCoin, unfortunately, is not over yet. So as you can see, despite the fact that recently we got a move on the upside, but the structures, in my view, now are looking much more complicated than before, and it's not necessarily that easy to be fully optimistic since we just got a move up. I think that shouldn't really be your strategy, because overall, if you want to go according to that, okay, I'm here to tell you, you are probably going to end up losing quite a good bit of money. So let's have a quick conclusion and wrap up today's update. In JasmyCoin, sure, you should probably not consider this head and shoulder anymore since it has done the job. But if you are still interested in classic patterns, maybe consider this head and shoulder structure right in here. And I would argue maybe you should consider this one. Why? Because if this is going to get confirmed, and again, very important point, by confirming it, I mean we get a successful break of the neckline, then okay, at that time we are also going to reclaim this important area of significance once more, which the higher band of it is somewhere around the 1.5 cents area. And at that point, fair enough, you can be bullish with a bit more confidence, especially if from here we manage to get our move on the upside and we don't really go a whole lot slower. If we do this, great sign. At that point, I am going to talk bullish in Jasmy with a bit more confidence. However, what you do not want to see on the other hand is maybe after having a consolidation, another move on the downside. Why? Because at that point, this is going to open the doors to having from the high side a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, meaning what? This is maybe the beginning of a new move done. And point number 2, especially if in this phase we manage to take this important low around the 1.4 cents area, that is going to be probably a very bearish sign, suggesting, you know what, in Jasmy, you need to be a bit more patient and careful, because odds are we might be headed lower in the short term. Like, do not get me wrong. Overall, no matter what is going to happen, I'm going to still remain bullish and argue we are having from the lowest low 5 wave up into 1 correction for wave 2, and after our correction is over, or who knows, maybe even it's over already, we are going to have a massive bull run into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And I think this is going to happen by the end of this cycle, and hopefully in this phase we are going to take this important high right in here around, let's say 5.8 cents, but I'm thinking we are probably going to go quite a bit higher than that, assuming that we are going to get a successful break of this very important resistance area, because that is going to actually confirm a beautiful cup and handle structure, and the target for it is going to be somewhere around the 10 cents region. So overall, as you can see, we are looking extremely bullish, but all eyes for like very short term should be on the current move, because this is going to decide whether we have hit our final low or not. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in JasmyCoin. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.